Hello, everyone. My name is Mike Mason, and I am a part of the Human Diver team representing what we do here in Australia.
Welcome to the show, mate, and
Thanks, Matt.
back onto the podcast, and of course, ADEX OZTek show.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
How's it been for you for the first day?
Really good fun, actually. It was nice to come and meet people I haven't met before, rekindle some old friendships and relationships. I gave a talk yesterday morning, which was quite well attended, had some good questions, got some good conversations going, which is exactly what we're all about. So it's kind of fun.
Happy days. Now, I was trying to work it out earlier on. I think it's a couple of years since last time you were on the podcast.
Yes.
I think it was when Gareth was over.
Yes, I think that's the last one. Yes, that's the last one we did, which would have been about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Me and him in Sydney. Yeah.
Time flies.
Just doesn't it?
So do you want to bring us up to speed on how the human diver's evolving in Australia then, since it's been that long?
Yep. So I am actively promoting what we do, our message, the courses that we offer, getting into conversations with people, trying to promote how the human diver can help you be a better diver. We've recently gone through a rebranding exercise with a well-renowned branding and marketing strategy company, and that's given us some really good insight into how we actually get our message out there. We used to talk to a lot of people about human factors in diving, and people would not unreasonably say, I don't know what human factors are, therefore this doesn't apply to me. We've now reframed it and said, we're not about human factors in essence. We are here to make you a better diver. And we've actually got a new tagline, be better than yesterday. So that's really what we're trying to focus on. We are making divers better than they were yesterday. We use human factors and techniques and methodology and idea to make that happen, but it's all about making you a better, safer diver and getting more fun out of it as well.
Yeah.
So I'm working hard on all that, getting courses going, getting more people on board, growing my own reputation and brand here in Australia. And hopefully the only way is up. I'm really enjoying it.
Good. And I see that you've been doing quite a few in-person courses as well.
That's the idea. Yeah, that's where I think the most learning takes place. We have what we call the Essentials class, which is online self-paced learning with pre-recorded material, which gets a good grounding going. But if you really want to get the most out of this material and the ideas that we and the education packages that we offer, the face-to-face class is by far the best way to do it, because you can actually get one-to-one in the moment learning from me. I can help shape your ideas, your experiences, your opinions, your thoughts, and you can have a go at the simulation software that we use, see how you behave in a dynamic situation, and then we debrief that. And because it's real time with me as the facilitator, it just makes the learning much more what we call sticky in your brain.
Yeah.
Anybody can watch a PowerPoint presentation, but would you happily go and dive a rebreather for the first time having done a PowerPoint presentation? Probably not.
Yeah.
You want to actually experience it with somebody who knows what they're talking about to learn how your brain works to get the most out of it. So I think the face-to-face classes are by far the best way to get this material across to people.
Yeah. And it's the delivery as well, isn't it? One thing that if people don't know about you, if this is the first time they're seeing you, Mike is also a fast jet fighter pilot that teaches fighter pilots how to be a fighter pilot with weapons. So the guy knows how to conduct tuition, shall we say, and advice, but also be able to look at scenarios from all angles rather than a narrow-minded view. Is that fair to say?
I think that's a fair statement, yeah. I mean, I think the diving world historically has probably been quite individualistic, perhaps, is one way to describe it. And the whole team mentality is not as robust across the whole diving culture as I think it could be. And yeah, my fighter pilot background and the training that I still do as my full-time day job very much has influenced and shaped how I can bring that across into the diving world and help improve diving performance as well.
Yeah. And I just touched on base there on, I said narrow-minded, probably the wrong wording, but hey, I'm from up north and I'm not as intelligent as this guy. But when we look at scenarios and incidents that occur around the world, the common thing nowadays is for people to go down the route of finding blame. And I think one key element that I've taken from the courses I've done with the human diver is not finding blame, but finding understanding.
That's a very good way to put it. Move away from blame to understanding. There's quite a famous phrase out there which we often quote: blame is the enemy of safety. And people will often say on a Facebook post or in response to one of these incidents that happens, who do we blame? We need to learn from this. If you want to blame, you're never going to get the most learning out of it. You have to ask curious, open questions, figure out why the people involved did what they did. Because for whatever reason, they didn't think they were doing anything wrong in 99% of occasions. Okay, you get the odd one or two, but they don't really appear very often. Most of the time when you have an incident or an accident, those involved, whether it be the people involved or the staff or the instructor or the dive shop, they thought they were doing things properly. They didn't think they were doing anything wrong. They thought everything was going to be fine. And we need to dig into what made them think that. And then go back a bit further. What were the conditions? What processes? What training did they undertake? What was their mindset? And then from there, you can look to actually make changes, implement things that can make things go better in future and avoid similar outcomes. Invariably, that's not the attitude of most people. And I understand why that is. It's a cultural inclination that we have worldwide, not just in the diving industry. Something goes wrong. Who do we blame? Who do we punish? That's unacceptable. That's negligence. Someone needs to be held accountable.
One of the latest one that's occurred is the divers that were left in the water in Perth.
Yeah, good example.
Have you seen a lot online about that?
I have, and that really does epitomize what I'm talking about. I think an awful lot of people come up with these phrases of "this is gross negligence," "this is unacceptable," "how could this possibly happen?" It's surely a head count is easy. Who didn't see these divers not back on the boat? Those questions are like not entirely unreasonable, but in reality, the skipper, the crew, the dive masters, they wouldn't have consciously, knowingly left these divers there without thinking they were on board. It must have made sense for them to think they were good to go. Let's head back to Perth. Now, for whatever reason, that process broke down. It might have broken down before, but everybody was on board, so they got away with it. So these things perhaps haven't been reflected on. No lessons have actually been learned. And fortunately, they've never had a bad outcome. Now we've actually had somebody left behind. Nobody did actually have an injury or fatality. So this prevents the litigation thing kind of getting in. We can have open conversations. We can talk to the people involved. We can figure out what made sense, why they thought what they were doing was okay, why they didn't think they were doing anything wrong, and then look at the processes they have, experience, other pressures, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. What can we change? What can we fix? What can we improve to make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that they're never going to go diving with the Perth Dive Academy because they left divers behind. I would pick the Perth Diving Academy over anybody because they're never going to make this mistake again because they've now got this story of we left some divers behind. That is not happening again on my watch. And I know that stories are powerful. They help enable learning. They help make sure that things are done better in future. Perth Diving Academy are never going to make this mistake again. They're the people you want to go diving with from now on.
It's a fair assumption to say that learning has taken place.
I'm sure it will have.
Yeah.
Robust. They're going to double, triple check to make sure they've got everybody on board. They're going to look at their processes. They will look at things to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
To say that the company is just irresponsible and dangerous is really quite ignorant. We have to dig deeper. We have to ask better questions. We have to learn.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We have to be open to feedback and be able to understand what went wrong to then make sure it doesn't happen again.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be a scenario as dramatic as this one. It can be as simple as something, a tank only 3/4 open instead of fully open on a dive. All of these procedures need to be learned from.
And I think actually it's really important to learn from the things that don't have serious outcomes because in isolation, most things don't have serious outcomes. People might not open their tank fully. People might not do their body checks as thoroughly as they might normally do. And in isolation, those two things are fine. But if you put them together and then you have a bit more current than you expect on a dive and your DSMB gets lost or whatever, then all of a sudden these little errors, which have never been fixed before, come together and you could have a really serious outcome. So yeah, I totally agree. That's why it's really important to focus on the little errors that don't have serious outcomes, fix them to stop them manifesting into a bigger situation. Really important to learn from these things.
Happy days. Mate, we could go on for hours.
We could.
But we're only doing 10 minutes. So one final question for you is I'd just like you to explain to a non-diver how it would feel for you to be underwater.
I love the freedom that diving gives you. It's astronauts train in swimming pools because of that. Just being able to float, no noise, real life just disappears. It's just it is another world. It's a liberating experience. It just makes you feel one with yourself, away from the rest of the world. No pressure, nice and relaxing. It's good fun.
Happy days. Cheers, Mike. Good to see you.
Thanks, Matt. Cheers.